Hello, everybody. I'm Karen Bell from Alumni Affairs. As you see, it's going to be a relaxed conversation, but I'm glad you guys are here. I know more people are going to be flowing in. I know at 2 o'clock, some of you guys have classes, finals, so we're going to get a conversation going on. Please, let's make it more of a discussion. If you want to jump in and ask a question, please do so at any time. So we want you guys to pick this young man's brain who's sitting beside me as much as possible. And let me remind you one more time, if you don't have the CD, after this at 3:30, we'll be in the bookstore selling a CD for the low price of $10.
Yeah, that's a Berklee discount.
There we go. see the love.
The struggle is real, I know.
See the love he has for us, and we appreciate it. And he will sign it. I'm just saying. Hey, Lil John.
Hi, Karen.
I'm just glad he's here. If you guys have been checking out the schedule for Janet Jackson, any of the 5 tours that Lil John has been in the drummer's seat for for her. The Stevie Wonder, Songs Key of Life tour. How many saw Stevie Wonder and or Janet Jackson? Yeah. So you know how busy those schedules were, right? So think about, he's been a road warrior, no joke. So I'm just going to get a little bit of information from like how you got started, Berklee, a little bit of stuff of how you got from Berklee to where you are now. But you said something yesterday. I gotta ask you about this. So we know, of course, drums, but you started with the clarinet. So what was your musical experience when you first? I know exactly. I was like, wait, what?
Stop. Don't even do it.
So what was your musical experience growing up, and how'd you say, yes, drums is it? But share a little bit
I played saxophone and clarinet. And my mom is a classically trained pianist, so piano was in the house. My dad played bass. Did you know that, Chris?
Yep.
My dad played bass, and and all my uncles played drums. So it was just, what instrument do you want to try,
Right.
And drums were, of course, was the main instrument, but I wanted to try some other things. And I was actually, me and Chris are from Philly, and I went to Settlement Music School. And I said, man, I want to play drums, but I want to try some other things out. And my teacher was Mr. Lewinsky. He was the first clarinet chair in the Philly Symphony Orchestra. I didn't realize what I had as a teacher at the time, so I was really just messing around and just not even taking the class serious. And I wasn't practicing at home and stuff, so I was just messing around like, this seems cool. I'd come to my lessons and be squeaking the whole time. And he would just be like, John, you weren't practicing, were you? Because if you were practicing, you would have learned how to, use the mouthpiece right, So saxophone, clarinet for a minute, and then I just went ahead and let it go. I had piano lessons for a while. My mom started me out with Suzuki lessons. You guys know what Suzuki lessons are? It's basically trained by ear, so you weren't really looking at the notes. You were just playing by what you heard. And then I started learning the notes after that.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was my little brief time period with those instruments.
All right. And then you got to Berklee. You said Winton. Is that right? Winton introduced you to Berklee because he brought you all here? Was that
Pretty
correct?
much, yeah. Winton had a 20-piece band, Duke Ellington Orchestra, that he put together, composed of 20 musicians out of the country. And he chose me to play drums, and he chose Chris McBride to play bass. And Joey DeFrancesco played with us for a little while, because we were a trio in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Then we have Fareed Barron, who took over to play piano with us. But the band was ridiculous, and we did all of Duke Ellington's Nutcracker Suite.
Yeah, okay.
And we came here and performed it in 89, 88, something like that. So we were all of us were about to graduate soon, and Berklee gave us certificates to come to the school after we graduated from high school.
All right, Berklee.
Yeah, thank you, Berklee. Yep.
Now, you were telling some stories the last couple of days of how you handled yourself while you were at Berklee. And even Walter Beasley, who said, I was teaching at Berklee, and I was like, let me get up and get there early. He sang, doggone it, every time I would get there, Lil John Roberts would be in the room already practicing. He's like, I got to get on top of my game because can't have this young man outdo me with his work ethic. But you mentioned a lot of things, like you couldn't have videos and the well, VH1 reel-to-reel tape. You know, we didn't have YouTube back in our day, so I'm just saying. But you had to go down to the library to check out stuff. You worked with Tommy Campbell, working the door. You were like, let me just get in any kind of way I can.
Any kind of way, yeah.
Art Blakey Ensemble. Just a little more about your time here at Berklee.
That Blakey Ensemble was amazing, and to actually be, you know, to be in a class with one of his band members, Billy Pierce,
Yes.
who's an awesome sax player and educator. That was a treat to play one by one, and you know, all those songs that he used to play with Blakey, and he would tell us, okay, that sounds good, that doesn't sound good. You know, to get it from that guy that was there in front of Blakey every night, that was a treat. And those are the type of things that I've really admired being at this school, to be exposed to those type of things, and as well being with my peers, you know, Jeff Ramsey, Chris Laughlin, Abe Laboriel, like all of us were here at the same time. Kenya Hathaway, Layla's sister, Kenya. I actually met Layla when I came here to play with Winton. We went to the cafeteria to eat, the old cafeteria, not the new one. Y'all have upgraded since then. But we were in the old cafeteria. I think Jeff was at the table with us too. I met all of them at the same time. I think you were there too. And just sitting there and talking to you guys like, wow, I want to come here, you know, and you guys are already here. And, you know, I asked a lot of questions. So it was just good to meet you guys at that early period before I even came here. So I had an introduction to the school before I got here.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So the path from being a student to being at Berklee to where you are now, fill in some of those. Like, what were some of the main things, some of the lessons you learned? Like, what comes to mind when you think about that path, your whole musical journey?
That dedication that you're talking about, me going to the practice rooms early in the morning and, you know, practicing for hours and things like that. You know, I had in the back of my head, I knew I was preparing myself for something big, you know, and I didn't know what it was, but I mean, Chris could tell you, like, all of us we even had a band together, the Disciples of Funk. You know, like we were going in too, and Chris would be like, he'd be on our heads like, man, that ain't funky. That ain't funky, man. Y'all ain't playing on the one. You know, like stuff like that. Man, listen to this. Listen to this Donald Blackman right here. Listen to this P-Funk. Listen to this, you know, Gap Band. Listen to this Cameo, you know. And we were like schooling ourselves together, like outside of what the school was showing us. We were schooling each other,
That's right.
You know, which had a lot to do with where we are now. I just did a show with Chris, like, maybe a month or so ago. He was with Brian McKnight, and I was playing I was subbing actually for the drummer for Layla Hathaway. I do sub gigs with her off and on, so we were off from the tour for a few days, and so I met up with him, and we, you know, every time we get together, it's a riot. We just reminisce about stuff that we did when we were coming up to get to the point where we are now, and all of those things added up to what we are today. You know, so I was saying yesterday in my clinic, to take advantage of what you're doing now. All of this stuff that you're doing is going to add up to where you're going to be 5 to 10 years later from now.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So dedication is key. You know, me and Chris were just talking before we started about some of the students that he deals with here. They're not on time, you know, they're not prepared, and they have the talent, but they don't have the professionalism yet.
Right.
And that's what you guys got to start putting together now in your whole package of a musician or an artist or whatever. Those type of things mean a lot. Ask Carl. You can't show up to the studio a half an hour late for the session. You know,
Right.
You should be there a half an hour before the session starts. You know, or however long it takes you to set your drums up, set your gear up, whatever. Get prepared, because when that time is ready to hit. First of all, when you're doing studio sessions outside of this school, you're paying for every hour. So
That's right.
you know, unless it's coming out of your pocket, you know, take all time you want. You know, the engineer is just sitting there counting his money. Like, okay, y'all not here yet? Ooh, 3 hours. I got paid 3 hours for nothing already. You know, like you got to take that stuff serious, you know, and for you to be here and be able to do sessions for free, you know, like either I might be the engineer and I need you to play on my project, or you're the instrumentalist and you need me to engineer your project. Both people are winning, you know, because you're both getting something out of it for free. you know. So take full advantage of that. You know, you can get a demo from here. We used to do it. We played on everybody's stuff together. And we take those demos and let people outside of the school hear it. Like, look, here's a representation of me playing, you know, this type of style of music or whatever like that for free. I didn't have to pay for that session, you know. So take full advantage of those opportunities here. And people like Carl Beatty, who's mixed every freaking album you could think of, you know, you got him at your disposal. Like, take advantage of that. Ask him questions. I'm here. Ask me questions. Like, the stuff that you want to do, we've already done it. So why not ask the person that has already done it what it is that you want to do?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, you mentioned some things that leads me to my next question. Professionalism, I'm sure, is one thing that probably all the artists you've worked with look for and demand and just expect. What are some of the other things that some of the artists you've worked for look for, not just in a musician, but in a drummer specifically? But what are some of those things? I'll say in a drummer specifically. How many drummers we got sitting here? All right now.
Room full of drummers. Okay.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Well, outside of just being able to play, like I said, the professional side of it. I've been working with Janet since '94, and I only missed 2 tours with her, and that's only because I had other things happening when I got the call to go out. So I had to decline and actually turn some of my friends on the plan. Brian Fraser Moore, who actually played for me on 2 of the tours. I just let him, you know, come right in on it. Like, get him. He's the guy to go with. He actually opened up for us when we were doing Velvet Rope. He was playing with Usher at the time. So I'm like, it's a you know, no-brainer to just go ahead and get him. He's heard the show every night, so he knows the stuff. He knows how things go around here. But that is an example of the loyalty that an artist will have with you if you do the right things. You know, if you come on time, if you just do all the stuff that they need you to do for the gig. You know, she doesn't think twice, but Janet she's not stupid. She looks at everything that's going on around her, and, you know, you might not know it, but she's watching you, you know, and that doesn't mean like put on a show for anybody or anything like that, but just handle yourself, you know, represent yourself right, you know, and just know that somebody's paying attention to everything you're doing. So playing wise, your personality, you know, I try to be cool with everybody. I'm pretty neutral, you know, I try to just get along with everybody, even if I'm having problems with somebody, you know, because not all the time are you going to get along with people on tour. Yeah, so get ready for that. There's going to be times you're going to be clashing with people, Jeff. I'm sure you've dealt with it. You know, it's just like you just have to, you know, just the common goal is to just do the right job and make your money and go home, you know, and then that tour is over. You might not see that person ever again, or you might see them on another tour and then you're, oh God, you again. You know, but hey, you're not going to stop me from doing what I need to do for my career.
All right.
You know, if we're not getting along or something like that, keep your distance, I'll keep mine, you know, and we'll just be professionals and do what we're there to do.
Oh, yeah. You impressed me. And you guys, again, got some questions. I don't want you guys to not get your questions answered. I was very impressed back in the day when you told me when you auditioned for the first time for Janet, and they said to learn a certain, you know, some of her material, and you said you busted your behind and learned the recorded version, the live version. So when you showed up and they called one of the tunes, they were impressed when you said, well, which version do you want me to play? And they kind of looked at each other and said, yeah, I think we're going to hire him. Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was overly prepared. And that's not a bad thing to be overly prepared. That instance, I never auditioned for any gig that I've done. Yeah. So that was a blessing in disguise too. I mainly got a lot of my jobs just off of reputation. That situation was unique because the musicians that were in her band already knew me and we played together in other situations.
Yes.
And when it was time for them to pick another drummer to fill in for Jonathan Moffett, who was there before me, who's an awesome drummer, played with Michael and the Brothers, Destiny, Victory Tour and all of that stuff. Awesome musician. And that's a big shoe to fill, coming behind Jonathan Moffett. I'm like, and I'm 23 years old, you know, you got this big, you know, mega star drummer, and I got to come behind him and do what he was doing and more, you know. So I was like, I can't mess this up, you know. And I had a VHS tape. Rex Salas is the one that got me in the band. along with Sam Sims and Daryl Smith and Terry Santil, all those guys. Much love to them, David Barry. And these are older guys. I was 20 years younger than all of them. So, you know, they've been in the business. You know, they had their stuff together. So they're looking at me like, hey, man, you know, we depending on you, come through. You know, and they gave me a VHS tape of one of the shows and a DAT tape for one of the live shows, because that's all we had back then. I couldn't go on YouTube and watch the show or anything, learn from that. But so I stayed in the house and I just kept playing that video over and over, like watching the hits and watching the arrangements and all that stuff. And I learned the whole show from that. So when it was time to come to rehearsal for the first day, they didn't know that I knew the whole show. They were just basically like, okay, John, which songs would you like to go over? And I'm like, you want to do the top of the show? Like, we can do the whole show if you want. And they're like, you know the whole show? I'm like, yeah, let's do it, you know. And I had that energy back then too as a kid. Like, I was just like, I'm ready to go, let's do it, you know. And I was prepared for that. And like I said, all of those things that I did from here up until that point, or even the stuff that I did from starting in my dad's church and playing, you know, all the gospel stuff, and then meeting Wynton Marsalis and meeting Miles Davis and Sun Ra and all these people in high school. Like, these are timelines that was happening, and I'm looking at them right now as I'm talking to you guys, when I started from a kid, church, gospel, jazz, Berklee, Janet, boom, 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 boom. You know, like, so all of those things were just a stepping stone to the next thing. So preparation, meeting opportunity, that's what it was.
All right now. Any questions?
I have a question.
Anything come to mind? Okay.
It's easy. The art of imitation is so high these days that that's American Idol, all that stuff. People can kind of nail a song. What's the longest set you've ever played?
4 hours.
Wow.
Stevie Wonder. He doesn't stop. This last song in the Key of Life tour was a good 4 hours, maybe longer. We would start at 8 and we would end around 12:30. So maybe 4.5 hours of nonstop songs. You know, like, I had help though, because Stanley Randolph he's his regular drummer. He was playing on one side and I was playing on the other, which was cool because he had 2 drummers for this tour, and we worked together very well. And some songs he played, some songs I played, so I get a little breather. You know, almost like how P-Funk did, or P-Funk would play for 4 hours, right? And James Brown, he had 2 drummers. You know, not one drummer could play with James Brown the whole show and keep his stamina up with James. Like, James could go the whole time, but the drummer, you know, Clyde or Jabbo, you know, I think James felt like, okay, this drummer's slagging, like he's lagging on the beat now. You pick up now. Who gonna keep up with me? You know, James Brown was the hardest working man in the business, you know. And but yeah, that was just an example to say that 4.5 hour show, you know, and it was just a stamina building thing. So after a while, we just, you know, we were ready to do that long of a show. Well, that's the longest one though so far that I've done. Janet, right now we do an 1.5 hour show, like on the spot. Like, if we start at 8 o'clock, we're done at 9:30. We love it because we're like, oh, we can go hang out now for the rest of the night, you know. But it's still high demand for that show. She's a very, she's an interesting lady to work for. A very, very sweet lady, but she knows her stuff and she knows when something is not right. You know, so we just have to be up on our P's and Q's and make sure that we deliver what it is that she's looking for.
All right. You got a question, Chris?
Yes.
You tired? He's been studying all night. You can see it in his eyes.
Oh, baby.
I asked you this when I saw you a few weeks ago. There was a point in time when R&B was very much R&B and hip-hop was very much hip-hop. Like, the two weren't together. People weren't singing over quote-unquote beats. So as a drummer, you either kind of did one or the other. And usually the hip-hop thing, people really didn't do that well.
Right.
They were still playing James Brown break beats, and there was a handful of cats being able to do both.
Right.
Who before you were able to do both well?
Before me?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a bunch of cats that could do it. I mean, definitely Amir.
Could do, no, we both know Amir wouldn't do it for you. Who did it well before you? He's not going to answer the question because he's that modest. The way that people play drums now is completely based on a concept that John did way before. Nobody could play like that. Nobody could play hip hop at that level. Mind you, they were machines very much at that time. So you had the combination of being able to play over a breakbeat that had programming, and nobody could do it well. Everybody tried, but hip hop was still a thing where it wasn't as popular as it is now, and quote unquote musicians really gave it a hard time. They didn't take it seriously. So people in this generation, they were still trying to play. They were trying to be Dave Weckl and Dennis Chambers and Omar, and they really weren't dealing with hip hop the way that they were. John did. So when he got up here, just like when he was at home in Philly, just like when he went to New York, there's a lot of information that he's leaving out, but he got to work and was able to do what he did based on the fact that he could actually play lots of different music, including hip hop. Right. So that brings me to my question. For you to be the pioneer that you are, there's an insight that you have to have. You have to have a laser focus as far as what you work on and how you work and what you do.
Right.
I need you to discuss that.
Okay. One person that I really respect still to this day is Chris Dave. And we were both, same kind of age, we're close to age, I think, same age. And we met, he was playing with Mint Condition, I was playing with, who was I playing with? Escape, maybe? I think I was playing with Escape, early 90s, it was like 90, that's when Mint Condition's first record came out around that time. But we were gospel drummers, technically, that went and started listening to straight ahead jazz and stuff outside of what everybody else was doing. We were trying to do different things than just play gospel music. And that's one of the reasons why I really respect him a lot. And a lot of other cats feel the same way. But we were trying to infuse what we knew from the gospel world mixed in with the Elvin Jones and the Tony Williams, and then mixed with Steve Jordan and all the other cats that were doing Rolling Stones type gigs and things like that, and just kind of making it like a jambalaya. And a lot of the other younger drummers under us were starting to follow that trend. I don't know if they understand that the term shed came from here. I don't know if anybody knows that, but when people say we're going to go do a shed and all that kind of stuff, the word shed came from Berklee.
How many of you all know or have used the phrase, the shed?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't want to take credit for that, but we were doing that in 1991. And the shed meant the practice rooms down in those little, hallways downstairs in the other room. And then I don't know, I'm not saying that we started it, but I went to Philly and we started making these events, and we were calling, man, we're going to go shed together. We're going to go practice together. It wasn't we're going to go compete with each other. We're just going to go play with each other at a church. And then all of a sudden it started spreading around in different other cities and stuff. And then this whole big thing about the shed, got big. And I was like, oh, okay, everybody's doing a shed now. I'm just saying, but it definitely came from these practice rooms at the school here in 91 at least. I don't know if anybody else was calling them a shed room here before I came to Berklee in 91.
Yeah, they,
Jeff?
As far as I know, Delphia on them, I guess you should call it that too.
Right.
Yeah.
The Marcelluses.
Yeah.
Winton and Delphio and Jason, all those guys, Branford, they would always pull us under their wing and say, man, y'all need to go and shed. That's where technically came from. And then we took it into us being practicing and then taking it into, all right, we're playing together now, as a group to learn together.
Yeah.
It wasn't a competition. It was us coming together and learning how to play better with each other.
Yeah, I've had alumni come back and talk to students and say, so do you guys jam still and play together? And of course the students say yes. And someone even said, on the Berkeley beach, And they kind of looked at the students and said, what do you mean you jam on the Berklee beach? That's outside, right? And they said, yeah, we play music out there. And this alum, or these alums, they say, no, when we were jamming, when we were shedding, it was a thing where it was so much amazing music happening in those moments that people were recording them and itching to like get to that room and sit outside the room and just listen. And people knew not to go in that room if you weren't ready to bring it on your instrument. But that was back in the day. So when jams happened, or impromptu, just getting together, everyone knew, depending on who was in that room, to jam and just work some music out, it was still going to be just a serious experience.
Yeah, a lot of great musicians came out of this institution.
Absolutely.
They might not have stayed. Like for instance, I didn't stay the whole time. You know, I stayed here about a year or two.
Yes.
And then I stayed here another year just because I was playing around town so much, and then getting calls and go. I remember I left here to go do the American Music Awards with Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince.
Yes.
We were the first hip hop band to play live on the American Music Awards. But I met Jeff and Will because I went to Overbrook High School, and Will went to Overbrook Panthers. Overbrook Panthers. And if you see some of his movies right before the movie starts or after it's over, you see Overbrook Films or whatever. That's why he named it that, because he's from Winfield, which is the area that Overbrook High School was at.
Yes.
So, I had a lot of opportunities, so I was going back and forth a lot from here. And I'm not encouraging anybody to leave here. If you're almost done, if you've done 3 years here and you got one more year left, finish. But if you get an opportunity after your first or second semester to go out with Sting or somebody, take it. The school will be very proud of you. They're not hurting for money. But the institution is definitely a place to learn everything you need to learn to prepare you for the professional world.
Right, and as a college, we understand great opportunities will come around. Of course, we're going to look at Berklee College of Music to try and find folks to fill their needs anywhere in the music industry and entertainment world. So when the opportunity knocks, sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge to say, well, sorry, I can't do that right now. Sorry, Stevie, I can't play with you right now. But you have to make that decision. Do you stop and do that amazing opportunity? Or do you continue on to get that degree and then hope that, if not, that opportunity, one similar, will be ready for you? So it is a different path. Many alums have chosen one way or the other. Depends on which ones fits best their situation.
And it's funny because now it's coming full circle for me now. I'm back here and walking around and seeing everything that's going on around here, and I've toured for 25 years now.
Yes.
I talked to you at our dinner yesterday, and Carl, I said, hey, I might want to come and give back to the school now and teach here.
Hey. You heard it, right? It's documented. We got it recorded, videoed. All right now.
We'll look into that in the future. But I still got to finish with Janet. Probably done. We'll be done in like 2017 with this. But that's where I think the next thing for me is, because touring is a lot of hard work. Traveling on buses or flights and all that kind of stuff. The playing every other night. That takes a toll on your body. And if you've done it for a long time, after a while, you want to change your lifestyle after that.
Makes
So
sense.
I'm getting to that point now where I'm like, okay, I did mostly everything I wanted to do as far as a touring musician is concerned.
Okay.
And now I think my calling is to help these guys that's getting ready to do that next.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite an accomplishment.
Yes, Mr. Ramsey.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, because you've done so many tours, are most of them for you, most of what I've done has been verbal, but have you had any where they have contracts and stuff that you have to sign for this amount of time?
Yep. Well, as you know, you've worked with a lot of artists as well on tour. That some tours don't require you to sign a contract with them. Al Jarreau, you were good friends with Al Jarreau, so I don't know if you even signed with him or whatever. It was just a handshake. We doing this? Cool. Okay, I can rely on you. But situations like with the Janet or somebody like that in that that field, Yes, there are contracts that have to be signed. There's confidentiality agreements that you have to sign. Because right now, I'm talking about my experience with her or some other people that I've been with, but there's certain things that I just can't talk about, because that's their private business. So we have to sign those waivers to say, I'm not going to say nothing out of line, So, but yeah, contracts definitely are signed, salaries, how long you're going to be with them for, so anything could happen to me or anything could happen on the tour, so there's a lot of insurance type situations there too that you have to legally bind things just so, that the legal stuff is done right.
Is per diems also always, or does that vary too?
Yeah, per diems are pretty standard. It's funny now because before they didn't tax per diems back in the day.
Right, they didn't.
Now they're taxing per diems. Yeah, I mean, last few tours that I've done with different artists, they've been taxing the per diem, which is, yeah, I mean, per diem was supposed to be something that you just get for food and whatever for every day that you're out of the state or country or city or whatever. But now the government has cracked down and, they're changing the laws on the per diem situation. But I mean, the per diem pay scales are usually the same. Don't ask me how much. I'm not going to tell you.
Not going there.
No, but they're standard rates that you get when you're on tour every day. You guys know about per diems, right? Okay, so when you're on tour with anybody, you are supposed to get a per diem every day, right?
Supposed to get.
So if you don't get a per diem with an artist on the road, you need to speak about that. You need to speak up about, hey, are we supposed to get money every day to eat with or whatever, $25, $35, $50, $75. Because sometimes when you go overseas, it doubles because the dollar value is lower. And then so we need more money because their dollars are more weight than ours. So if I get $35 a day here, I might get $70 in London or something. So, but you're supposed to get that. That's spending money for food or whatever you need to get through the day every day.
I kind of have two questions. The first one is kind of tied into what he was talking about. I noticed yesterday you noted about unions. So I want to know, what are unions and how important is it to have them a part of your life, and when should you join?
Yeah, that's a good question. With unions are different now. They don't do as much as they used to do as far as union strict pay and things like that. But when you're doing certain shows, like if you play at the Apollo or if you play on the Tonight Show or something like that, when you play on those shows, you get paid through the union. So you have to technically, back in the day when we performed on TV, we couldn't go on TV unless we were part of the union.
Right.
But now, I think they're a lot more. What was it?
Taft-Hartley.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
And now, I think it's a little more lenient now. So, I mean, I've never seen anybody come up to me and say, what union are you in now before? So I think those things, they've kind of, let those go a little bit. But back then, you had to be a part of the union. You paid your union dues. Because that's how you got your check from whatever performance that you would have done. Like we play on shows and they might rerun it. We get another check for every rerun that they play. So like I did Oprah one time with Jamie Foxx, and one performance, it came on about 5 times. And every time those checks was coming in the mail, I was like, thank you, Oprah. And you see Oprah's signature on there. Okay, cool. I don't know if it was a stamp or if it was really her signature, but her name was right there, Oprah Winfrey. But Apollo, those are strict, even in New York, especially the Broadway shows. Broadway shows especially are probably still strict about the union situation. So you gotta be in AFTRA or SAG, and the musicians have to go through the union to get their paychecks.
My second question was, without saying too much, how much would you say, like on average, a touring musician like you would make?
Here you go. You're getting real personal right now. But no, I'll tell you. When I first started touring, I think my first group I was playing with, I might have been making maybe $1,200 a week or something. That was then. That was 91, 92, 93, whatever. Now, You know, but it depends on who you're working with.
Inflation.
Right. It depends on who you're playing with. You know, Janet is a high-profile gig, so of course the money is going to be different with her. If I play with the Rolling Stones like Darryl Jones does, you know, Darryl's a millionaire. You know, more than a millionaire at this point now. How long has he been playing with them?
12 years.
12 years? Okay. And Darryl used to play with Miles Davis and Sting, and you know, Darryl's a great bass player, but now he doesn't have to play half the notes he played with them. He's doom 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 doom. Money, 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 money. You know what I'm saying? Like I said yesterday, money notes. You know, less work, more pay. That's my goal at this point now. I mean, I played enough notes in my career. I don't have to prove nothing else to anybody. You know, they can go look at some old videotapes when I was, you know, now I'm like, woo, 1,000, 2,000, yeah. You know, that's what you graduate to when you get to that point. You don't have to prove anything. Just play the music, you know.
That's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Jeff Ramsey, y'all, awesome vocalist,
Ramsey.
vocal coach.
There's a hand.
John Roberts on the unclaimed royalties list in Africa.
Oh, I got another check. Okay, cool.
There was a hand back there I saw somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be around. Chris Laughlin, everybody.
All right.
Yeah, I have one question for you. What would you say is one thing that would prevent musicians from being able to be a part of high-profile gigs?
Well, what? Say that again.
What would you say are some things that would prevent musicians from being on high-profile gigs?
What prevents you from it? Your ego. Your ego.
Ego.
I mean, you know, nobody likes a jerk. Nobody likes working with somebody that's difficult to work with. I mean, especially on those high-profile situations. It's like they're already on the marquee. Their name is out there. They're fine. You know, everybody else is working towards it. You can be replaced, basically. I don't care how good you are or your resume and all those kind of things. They can get somebody else. You know, and I never think of myself that high to think like, oh, nobody can replace me. I've been playing with Janet for 20 years now. Like, no, I can be replaced tomorrow. You know, and I always know that in the back of my head. Like, you know, it's a privilege to be in that situation with someone like that. And I don't take that for granted. My ego's not like that to the point where I feel like, oh, she needs me, you know. No, she likes me, and I'm sure she loves having me there, but I can't come in with that attitude like, yeah, you know, entitlement type situation, you know. So that means a lot. Just being cool. Just stay cool. Do your gig, play, kill, smash, you know, and just be a easy person to work with. And you will always work in this business, I promise you. You'll probably work more than someone else that has that ego and can probably play better than you, you know, but you have a better attitude and, you know, people like being around you. That means a lot, especially for somebody like Janet. She looks at everybody in her camp and is just like, okay, cool. I mean, I had a new tech that came in one time, this last run we did, and he's cool. He's nothing wrong with him at all, but she didn't know him well enough. And she came to me and was just like, hey, you know, how is he? You know, what kind of person is he? You know, like she wants to know those type of things. She wants to know what's around her. I mean, from the lighting people, you know, to the band, to the directors, anybody that's in that camp. You know, if you come into the room where we're rehearsing, she wants to know who you are, you know, and if you're not supposed to be there, you got to go. You know, but that just lets you know that it means a lot to just be cool. You know, and you will definitely always work, man. I promise you. Yes.
Good question.
Would you say like every different tour you've done with like a different artist has been like a completely different experience, or would you say you kind of know what to expect, like when you're working with someone new, like you know what kind's gonna happen? Is it like
I never know what to expect, and I don't even go into it thinking that, oh, it's gonna be the same as this last thing that I did. Each situation is different. You know, each artist has different production, has a different crew around them. You know, some people, you know, they bounce around from gig to gig, and a lot of us see each other in different situations like, oh yeah, we did such a tour together 5 years ago, or, man, I haven't seen you in like 10 years. You know, we did such and such tour together, and we have our old tour stories and stuff. But then sometimes you get in situations where it's a whole new crew of people, and you know, the egos are there. You know, everybody's trying to find their place, and you know. But at the end of the day, it always winds up that we wind up being family. At the end of the day, you know, we all let our egos down. Like, oh man, you cool, man. You know, and we all working for the same thing. You know, we're all trying to take care of our families and ourselves, and you know, and just live a good, decent life as an artist or musician or production crew guy or whatever. We're all doing the same thing, so we just all try to get along, you know.
I wanted to ask about the workflow when you prepare for a tour. Is it how many months before a tour do you prepare, like with Janet or Stevie Wonder? How does that work?
That's a good question. Janet, we don't rehearse no less than 2 months.
Okay.
And we did about 3 months for this tour now. We started in June, we went to August, and then we started our production rehearsals in Canada, in Vancouver, for like 2 weeks. We were there just getting all the production up, you know, because it's like it starts from one thing where we're just simply going over the music as with the band and all, and there's dancers in another room with Jan. They might be going over things on there, and as we come up with the show, it starts growing as the weeks go by, and then you start adding stuff to it. And
so you as a collective, you make the productions kind of, or does the MD send out like a full show to you that you have to learn, or is it song for song?
Some of that stuff is already pre-set, and then some things we're coming up with it on the spot. You know, we all have a say in it as a band, you know, we all have respect for each other, so it's like, what you think we should do? What you think? You know, and she comes in and she says if she likes it or not, and then she'll throw ideas back at us, or the choreographer will come in and say, hey, we need some hits here because the dancing's doing such and such. But what always happens with us is when we record all our rehearsals. So whatever we play in our rehearsals, we send it over to them and they start forming their choreography around it. So if you play a certain lick or a certain hit or something like that, they start dancing to it. And you got to remember to keep playing those things over and over again. So if you're just in there vibing and, I was just trying some things out. No, that just went to tape and they're setting it as part of the show now. If I go, they're like, bam, you know,
Yeah.
and then every time they're going to look for me to do that. And if I don't, they're like, yo, what was that? What was that thing you did? You know, I'm like, what thing? You know, I remember one time I did like just some little splash kind of thing one time. And I was playing in rehearsal and I didn't do it. And the dancers looked back and was like, I was like, what? It was like, where's that thing at? I was like, oh my goodness. You know, so I just had to remember that everything I play, they're doing a choreography too.
I have one more question. How does that work with electronics when you play it to the tracks? How do you know what to put in the track and what you cover with like a sampling pad?
Great question. Sometimes I will say, okay, let me play that live, or the MD will say, hey, why don't you do this, and then we'll take it out of the Pro Tools files or whatever, because you know some stuff we leave in there because it has something to do with the sound of that song. You know, there's certain percussion parts or something like that needs to stay there, and I can't play it while I'm playing the main groove. And then we'll just decide what I should play live and what we should leave in the box, we call it.
Is it mostly like claps and so shorter sounds, or do you also trigger like 2-bar loops or stuff with the SPD?
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't trigger any loops. Anything that's looping is coming from the Pro Tools guy.
So it's mostly claps or shorter sounds?
It depends. I mean, it's different stuff. It could be finger snaps, it could be claps, it could be anything. You know, it could be kick drum sounds. Like I always have triggers on my kick and my snare, and then I have all my electronic pad stuff over here. And then whatever they feel like I should do live, or if I say, you know, hey man, I want to play that live, whatever MD I'm working with, you know, we always come to an agreement. Yeah, John, you want to play that clap, or you want to play that snare sound, or okay, or he'll say, hey John, let's leave this sound in the Pro Tools file and let you just play the main beat of the song. You know, so we form the stuff around each song, whatever that song is calling for.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So, question for you. Someone who's gigging a lot, you know, playing around town, and wants to kind of get to that next level, what would be like some of the things that they can try to do?
Audition.
But
I mean-
where would you like, okay, where would you kind of find those auditions, I would say?
You got to look for them. Sometimes you won't know about it because it might be something that's in a closed group of people that know about it, and that's all they want is those people to know about it. And it's not like an open public call for something. A lot of times, like their auditions aren't like they used to be anymore. Like a lot of people get calls because of affiliations or reputations, like, oh, we want somebody that does this. Oh, well, call him because we've seen him play with such and such on another tour. You know, but if you haven't had that time if you haven't had that chance or experience to have that reputation yet, then you just have to, you know, it's like fate sometimes too. You know, you could be playing in a club somewhere and I could come see you play, or somebody could come see you. And a music director, if Adam Blackstone is with me one day and we come see you play one night, man, I like that dude. I like how he sounds, man. I'm gonna get his number and reach out to him if an opportunity comes, you know. That happens a lot. I mean, I was playing in a club one time and Larry Blackman was in the club in the back. I didn't even know he was there. And I've met Larry before. We cool. I just didn't know he was there checking me out with my band. And he came over to me later on between the set, was like, yo, you gotta come play with me sometime, man. I was like, I would love to, you know, play with Cameo, you know, give him my number. And we tried to do something, and I think the schedules just got mixed up and everything, so I didn't have time to do it with him. But I would have totally played with Cameo, you know. But situations like that, that's why I say, man, when y'all playing at these clubs and places like that, treat every situation like you're on tour. You know, I don't care if you're playing in a little spot like this and you just got a few people there watching. You never know who might come through that door. They might be in town here, you know, they might be playing at the Garden and they have a day off and they come to your show and you don't even know who they are, but, you know, you're giving your best, you know, performance regardless of where you are playing, and you might get a call just from the fact that somebody was seeing you at that spot. So that's, take advantage of whenever you play anywhere. Treat it like I'm playing in front of thousands of people right now, or I'm playing in front of a music director that, you know, could get me a gig or something like that, or the band. You know, some of the band guys might be like, man, did you hear that guy? We got to call him. You know, that happens a lot.
That's right. Got a question?
Yes, this is actually more a specific question regarding like your drum set when you're on tour. What do you look for specifically, I guess, sound-wise, as far as the cymbals or even drum heads? Like, how do you figure that out on tour?
Well, you don't figure it out on tour. You got to figure it out before you go on tour. But I mean, we have time when we're in rehearsals to mess around with stuff, you know, and I know what kind of sound I'm looking for whatever situation that I'm in. But, you know, after doing it for so long, I just kind of know what I like now anyway, unless it's something that's out of the ordinary than what I've done before. Usually my stuff is pretty consistent, you know, cymbal stuff and the heads that I like to use, the type of drums that I like to use. I'm pretty consistent with that. Like I use the same stuff in pretty much every situation, unless, you know, like for instance, if I needed more electronic stuff, like I started out with this tour rehearsing with a whole electronic kit on the left side, just waiting, just in case if we came up with something that needed me to come over here and use the all electronics instead of using acoustics. Because sometimes acoustics aren't needed on every track. You know, like Madonna, Brian Fraser is playing with Madonna right now. He's using a lot of electronics with her. Omar Hakim played with Madonna. He used a whole rolling electronic drum set, no acoustics at all. So, you know, it just depends on the style of the music and what the artist is asking for.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about your work, like being like a band leader with like Sunday best and stuff like that. How is it, or is it more difficult being a drummer trying to do like the duties of a musical director?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, most people don't expect the drummer to be, you know, calling the shots for stuff. You know, when you're dealing with keyboard players and guitar players and bass players, whatever, like, because they know the music, they can play the music. I'm not a keyboard player, but I know what I like to hear, and I've been around a bunch of them that I know, you know, how to direct people. So it pays for you to have the right crew with you, you know, that respects you and trusts your judgments and stuff. And, you know, I'm not the one that's always making the calls. Sometimes I'll say, hey man, what do you think we should do here? You know, like I leave it open for the band. I like to work with musicians that respect each other enough that we can come up with ideas together. You know, I don't have to be the one always saying, hey man, play that, you play this, you play that. You know, nah, it's fun when everybody puts their own input in, and then we all are happy because we know that we've all put something, you know, we've helped put that arrangement or whatever together. So, but that's key for me, is like getting musicians that I like working with. You know, I usually call my boys, you know, because I know that they respect me and I respect them. And when we come together, they're not looking at me as just a drummer. I'm a musician. I'm not just a drummer. I can, you know, I might not be able to play your instrument, but I know what bass lines and stuff sound like. I know how to sing the parts, and, you know, hey man, could you change those chords here? Can we lift it here or whatever? I know what I'm talking about. I played with George Duke for 17 years, you know, like I know what keyboard players play, you know. You think, you know? So, you know, and I try not to throw that on people either. Like, man, you know who I play with? You know, I'm not like that, but I will pull my card out if I have to. Like, man, I know what I'm talking about here. So, but Sunday Best was a very special situation because I had always been playing with Big Jim Wright and Daniel Moore, who we did the Monique show with as well. And okay. And we are homeboys, you know. So when we're not playing together, we're joking somewhere, eating somewhere, you know, hanging out, whatever. Like, it's more to it than us just playing together. Like, we have a brotherhood going on, and, you know, the respect is there, and, you know, they respect anything I say, I respect what they say. Like, so that means a lot when you come into a situation as a band, because that's the definition of a great band anyway, is, you know, the camaraderie comes through the music. You know, and I said that to it on an interview not too long ago, that you can tell when a band is tight, like off the stage. Because when they're not tight and there's some division in there, you can hear it. You know, you can listen and you're like, oh, that guitar and bass player, they don't get along, you know? You can hear it. It comes through the music. So I like working with people that have good energy and good vibes and all like that. It makes me play better. It makes me smile when I'm playing, like, yeah, we having fun. Because if I'm not having fun, I'm back there like, you know, I'm just getting a check at that point. And I don't want to do that. I don't do this for that. You know, I like to smile when I'm playing. I like to have a good time and make the money, you know. So it's a nice balance of both.
I know a lot of bands, they don't particularly go with percussion players, and most people say it's because, oh, we got click tracks. I understand that and all that, but percussion is definitely an instrument. It's a whole major here. It's a whole principal instrument here. So
You gotta pay for it though.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, percussionist is another check and another hotel room and another, you know, bunk on the bus, and, you know, like that one extra body brings a whole nother budget, you know, change.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, what is the outlook of percussion players on a roll? It's like, you know, is it? I don't know. And is it like that because it's not really respected, or?
No, it's respected, but it might not be needed. Sometimes they're like, well, you know, we could lead a percussion in the track, you know. But some artists want to see somebody actually playing the percussion stuff live. You know, it just depends on who you're working with. You know,
what type of music have you seen a percussionist with most often?
I mean, we had one with Janet. Terry Santil was playing with us, and he was great with, you know, what we were doing. Stevie Wonder, you cannot lead percussion in a track with Stevie Wonder. Like, he wants to hear real congas, you know. So you have Munyango Jackson, who's one of the greatest guys, percussionists. Fausto as well. He has 2 percussionists. So, and we had 2 drummers, 2 percussionists, 3 guitar players. You know, we had about almost 10 horn players, a string quartet, not quartet. It was about maybe 10 of them too over here. It was like 30 of us on stage at one time. You know, so that lets you know that Stevie cares about the integrity of the music, you know, and he's not going to settle with putting those instruments in a track, you know, to play to. He wants to hear it live, you know.
That's where you get road managers doing front of house, right?
Huh?
You get road managers who have to do front of house now. It's compression.
Yeah.
How many roles can you collapse and manage your budget?
Yeah, I mean, like a budget. That's what it is. If you have the money to afford all those things, cool. But if you don't have the money to pay for all of those things, you know, you got to consolidate stuff. Like he said, the road manager might know how to do sound, and he runs out there and, you know, and then runs into the office and makes sure that they get paid at the end of the night, you know. But, you know, it depends on what you can afford. it's not a disrespect at all. You know, for some people, I don't know. Some people might say, "Oh, I don't need no percussionist. Why we need a percussionist?" You know, I like having, you know, the actual percussionist there. If he can play it, you know, play it right, you know, that's cool with me.
I know also as instrumentalists, many more instrumentalists are making sure they got the vocal chops prepared, because a lot of times background singers aren't on the tours if they're small tours. So as an instrumentalist, make sure you can go ahead and get that boom stand in front of you, and make sure you can hold down some background parts, because it's necessary and it makes you much more employable.
I used to sing background with George Duke. I played drums, and he heard me sing one time in rehearsal, just messing around. He's like, "Give him a mic." I was like, "What? You want me to sing too now? Like, I'm already trying to keep up with you playing, you know." But that was a challenge for me, and it was great. Like, even him, playing with him and Rochelle Farrell and stuff. Like, Rochelle's my girl. That's my Philly girl. And we played together for 17 years together. And she has so much respect for me as I have for her. And she knows that I can sing, you know, I can hold background parts and stuff. So she's like, "John, I need you to sing backgrounds with me tonight," you know. And I'm cool with that. It's fun. It's a fun challenge. Yeah.
Saw some other hands.
Yeah. Did you play? Oh, sorry.
Let me get him too. Yeah.
I just wanted to know about, you were speaking about stamina earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to know, like, especially during the road and on tour, like, how is your, like, health? Like, what are some, like, things you do
Man.
besides exercising?
Great question. I mean, I'm 43 now, so, you know, I'm older and my body don't act the same way it used to. So I gotta stay up on it. I stopped eating meat 8 years ago. I'm a pescatarian. I just eat fish. So just little health things that help, you know, helps you on the road and keeps you, you know, just keeps your stamina up and keeps your health, your immune system built up. You know, I do Pilates when I'm home. Like, I did it last week. I think I almost pulled my neck from it the other day too. But it's a great core builder. Cardio. You could do 30 minutes on the treadmill. You don't have to run. You could walk 30 minutes every day. You would feel totally different. Like, if you haven't done it and when you start to do it, I mean, you just feel like, man, you know, you can breathe better. Your heart rate is better. You have more energy, you know, especially for drummers. Like, drumming is a sport, you know.
Yes, it
we're
is.
athletes. I was watching him play yesterday. His stamina is right up there. He's killing with the gospel choir, you know. And I look at cats and I see how they look, and you know, posture. I'm a big stickler of posture. You know, like, you sitting all the way down here, you slumped over, your back is going to hurt after a while. You got to keep your posture up so you can breathe, you know, while you're playing. You playing all night, even at church. You know, at church, we all start shouting. You can't be, you got to breathe. You know what I'm saying? Breathe, just breathe. Don't hold your breath. You're gonna pass out eventually, you know. So, like, just do things to keep your stamina up. That's a good question, though. But for the road, you definitely got to stay on your stamina game. Like, the band where I'm with now with Janet, we bought bikes. We were riding our bikes to rehearsal every day, just so we could keep our stamina up when we got to run through the whole hour-and-a-half show. Because the first part of the show is 30 minutes long. We don't get a break. We're song after song after song. It's nonstop. If you see the show, the first 30 minutes of the show, we do not stop, and we go hard. And then we take like a little 5-minute intermission where our DJ's playing some music. We catching our breath. Everybody's in the back catching their breath real quick, and we come back on. We do another 45 minutes. You know, so we pace ourselves. You know, okay, I'm gonna go hard on this song. This song doesn't call for me to go as hard, so I'm gonna pull back a little bit and relax myself. You know, try to find my center. You know. And then if it's another hard song, back at it again, you know, boom. So you just have to, it's a training process, definitely.
What about stamina for your hands with the sticks and the
Stretch.
You have a drum pad that you warm up on every day?
Yeah. They know. Warming up is definitely something that you should do. Don't come out the gate without even, you know, getting your hands warmed up. You playing an arena or a stadium full of people, 10,000 people, 100,000 people, you know, you got to get some sound. You got to produce some good sound. You can't be back there tipping. You gotta, you know, come out. So backstage, and I have a little setup backstage with my tech. He puts little pads up for me, and I just start warming myself up. I don't do too much crazy stuff, but I just start getting my legs warmed up, my hands, I stretch. You know, sometimes I see the dancers stretching, I'll go walk over there with them and see what they're doing. Okay, what you doing? Okay, Lane. Because they know how to warm up the best. Because they're dancing, they're working very hard. And the drummer is working just as hard as the dancers. So yeah, definitely stay up on that.
Very nice. I saw some other hands.
Oh yeah, you were going to ask something.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if you played some tracks with Stevie Wonder at all, or
Studio?
no, in live. Do you use tracks with him?
Oh yeah, some songs we did. Because I was mentioning that yesterday to some other people that some of the stuff that Stevie did on the records, because those records are from like 1970 something, you know, and it's hard to reproduce some of those synth sounds because those are analog synths that he did manually. You know, he didn't program none of that stuff. He played all those things, all those Moog sounds and those OB8 sounds or whatever, all the vintage stuff that he did. So instead of trying to recreate those things, we kept some of that stuff on the track. So we played to a click. And some songs we just playing to a click, just so we could stay on the right tempo of those songs. Stevie likes to be as close to the tempo of the record as possible. So not that me and Stanley couldn't play the tempos, but you know, just so all of us know that we're in the same place, we keep a click going, you know. And then there's some parts in there, you know, there's some little percussion parts that he wants to keep, you know, just to keep the authenticness of the record in there. Even though we have percussionists, there's some stuff that just, it makes the track. You know, like Jimmy Jam came out and helped us mix with our house engineer, Kyle Hamilton. He came out and helped us mix some of the live show. And we noticed when he's like, this song right here, this is what made this song a hit. This loop right here. You know, like If or whatever. And I got to play on top of that. And we found a happy medium where I should sit versus where the loop should sit. You know, and, you know, just sitting back there and seeing him pull stuff up like the hey, 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 you know, just that little hey is part of the song. It made it what that song is. So to see those things, you're like, wow, okay, you know, those are the elements that make a song what it is. And you know, when you go to approach playing these hits live, you know, you don't want to go too far away from the record. You know, you can play extra stuff live, but you want to stay true to what made that song a hit. You know, and my triggers and stuff, that's why I'm real serious about how my triggers work. You know, that's why I played something here yesterday, just so you can hear, you know, how I approach playing with my triggers and stuff, because you have to play a different way when you're using triggers. And I don't know if you know that, but the sensitivity, you have to manipulate the sensitivity, sort of. You know, I mean, you can play the way that you play, but there's sometimes I might have to do like boom, 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 you know, and those boom, 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 those things got to come through on those triggers. So you got to change the sensitivity so that it all comes through, and so it's not like boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, you know, boom, boom. You're missing the boom, 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 boom. You know, you want to hear all that stuff come out, so you have to set your trigger settings so that all of that stuff translates in the house. Yeah.
You mentioned what other artists have looked for from you when you're playing with them, but now with your first CD and you said the next CD is coming out soon. What do you look for, musically speaking, in a bass player, keyboard player, guitar player?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the same thing like what I have to do for someone that I'm playing for. I look for the same things with the cats that I use. You know,
Okay.
like I said, I usually call my boys. You know, I've been playing with them for years. You know, I got a band that I use in Atlanta. We've been playing together for a long time. Trey Gilbert, he plays bass with me a lot. My boy Phil Davis, who used to be in The Chronicle, my old band, together. The guitar player, Derek Scott, I use him a lot. And we play with each other in a lot of different other situations. So when they came to work with me on my stuff, they even played on the record. And when we play live, it's so easy because everybody knows each other and knows what we like and don't like or whatever like that. So that's really what I look for, is to know that somebody can play all the different styles, because I have a lot of different styles on my record. So play rock, play hip hop, play some jazz, you know. So Yeah, versatile. I look for versatile cats.
Okay, all right, all right.
I have another question. My first exposure to you was when you played on the Monique show.
Mm-hmm.
And like I used to like stay up late watching my mom on it and stuff. Like but how do you make the switch of like mindset wise from when you're playing on like a TV show or an award show, where like as soon as you come back from commercial, you gotta like come in like hot. Like there's no time to really like warm up or like get used to the groove of the song. You gotta come in like heavy as soon as you come back from the break. How much of an adjustment did you have to make for that stuff?
That's a great question, man. You thinking some things. I see you. I can hear you thinking. And that's great because when you get in a situation like that, TV stuff is totally different than playing a live show. TV is all about timing. So like, and they would always rely on me to count stuff off or, you know, end stuff at a certain time. Like Monique's show, you know, there's a director upstairs. She's not even downstairs. She's upstairs. Somebody just messed up my Periscope. What up, Periscope? I'm Periscoping this right now. But yeah, the director's upstairs. She's not even in the studio where we're recording. So I have to hear her counting down when the commercial is coming because it's live. A lot of times it's live, or sometimes we shoot in post, which is where it'll air later. But when we're live, which we call live, when she's counting down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, by the time she hits 1, that means the red light comes on and it's live. So I have to count the band in at 4. So when she's like 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm already going click, 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 1, bam, and then we're on TV. You know, so the timing definitely means a lot. So you got to be in that position to be ready, you know, not fumbling, you know. She's like, 1, grabbing my stick. Okay, you ready? No, you're already live on air. So, yep.
I noticed it, like for instance, on Sunday Best, like Fred Michael was talking, and you were like, all right, we'll be right back after this, and you were right into step.
Oh, yeah. Because I'm waiting for his last word. Sometimes there's the teleprompter. Yeah. The teleprompter's right there, so I'm reading some of the stuff that he's reading anyway, so I'm already anticipating when he's going to stop. But sometimes he improvises, and it might not be what the script is on there. So if he's finishing a statement, I got to kind of like think ahead when he's going to stop, and then I'm like, you know. And so everything just gels, because it's timing. It's all timing for TV. Yeah.
So who taught you like the rules of the road? Like, did you just learn everything as you went along? Like, when you were coming out of Berklee, who really kind of took you under their wing and said, okay, like this is the way the business works?
Yeah, I learned things on my own, just like trial and error first, and then I had people around me telling me, "Hey, man, you know, like don't do that out here," you know, and I do that with people now too. Like if I know that's their first tour, you know, I have a conversation with them. You know, like this one girl that was on tour with us not too long ago. She was asking me, "John, like how does things work around here? You know, I'm not sure. I've never been on the road." I'm like, first of all, mind your business and stay out of other people's business, you know, and you know things like that. Just there's a way that you roll when you're traveling with a bunch of people, you know, people you've never met before, and you're getting to know as you're there. Y'all have to be family while you're out there. You have to get along. You know, it's no getting around it. Like you don't want to be going back and forth with somebody, either fighting them or, you know, if y'all have an issue with each other, just keep your distance from them. Hey, what's up? You know, keep it moving. You know, but things like that I learned through trial and error, and then, you know, having like older, like big brothers or big sisters out there with me to tell me, you know, because when I came on the road, I was very young, and, you know, I might have done a few dumb things, you know, and they would pull me aside and say, don't do that, you know, that could get you fired while you're out here, you know, or whatever. So you learn, you live and you learn as you experience traveling on the road like that. Yes, sir.
There's a not to like do the whole age gap. There's a difference between like when you was in school and like us now, and now it's more technology based. So how do you make sure that all of your content that goes on like your Instagram is always can't think of words today, dog. Just like make sure it's always good.
Oh, presentable.
Yeah. Presentable.
Like not putting stupid stuff on social media.
Like
Yeah.
How important is it? Do you see other drummers in the, or other people in the industry? You like, nah, you probably shouldn't have said that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you gotta watch because a lot of people watch me and they follow me and stuff, and I have a lot of people that look up to me too. So I gotta make sure that I represent myself the right way. You know, might want to say something a certain way, and I could even be typing it and be like, let me erase that, you know, because some things you need to just keep to yourself or keep it private between you and your boys or whatever like that. Like, you don't need to say everything that's on your mind, you know, because some people are waiting to, you know, for you to slip and say something stupid, and then they're going to come at you and starting something. Because, you know, there's people out here that want to start stuff with you.
Yeah.
I get it all the time. They want to test me. They want to see how far I can push Lil John, you know. And I'm not that dude. I'll come back and say something. You know, I'm not scared. I'm from Philly, and I just be like, what? You know, like you've seen me before on a post. You know, somebody was saying something out of line, and I was like, hold up, cuz. You know, like first of all, you don't know me. You know, you're making accusations that's not true. I'm going to say something, but as far as like what I post on my own, I try to post positivity. Like if you see my posts on social media and stuff like that, I put pictures up there. I put little sayings and things like, because it's inspiring me, and I know it's going to inspire other people.
All right. Well, in addition to that, do you think it is necessary to have like a social media presence? Because I know back then,
Absolutely, yeah.
there was no social media.
Right.
Everybody, you know what I'm saying? Still got work.
That helps you. That helps you build your brand.
Okay.
I mean, that's the beauty of social media is branding. And I'm always posting something. I got Periscope on right now, showing the world that I'm at Berklee and I'm proud to be back and I went here and I'm helping you guys out and everything. So I want them to see the positive situations that I'm in like this, you know.
And it's free.
Yeah, and it's free. You know, you might not have an agent. You might get a gig just from a video that you posted. Somebody might see it, and a lot of people have gotten work from a video that they might have posted on YouTube or something like that. You know, Prince saw Mono Neon on YouTube, bass player. Didn't Mono Neon go here?
He's an alum.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
And he's an amazing bass player, but he might not have been seen in his room, you know, playing by himself. You know, and every time I see a video of him, I'm like, you know, it's content. Put as much content as you can out there of yourself. You never know who's watching it.
Doesn't that become part of your contractual agreements now, though, with your employers?
Yes, that does. That can be a tight situation as far as dealing with, like some things, you know, I can't post about Janet, you know, so I gauge what it is that I'm going to put out in social media, you know, because some of that stuff is just too much, you know, and they'll pull you aside and say, hey, you know, or like they had problems with some of the Instagrams because too many people were posting like videos of the show, but 15 seconds is not a big deal. But some people were posting full shows on YouTube, like the whole hour and a half show, and that takes away from ticket sales. You know, you could just sit home and watch the whole show at home, you know, but you want to go there and experience in person too. So, you know, they would shut. Prince he's the main guy as far as that's concerned. Like, he don't want none of his stuff put out there if he doesn't okay it. He shut me down on something, you know, like, you know, I don't mind saying it. I put a post of us rehearsing from my SoundCloud. And we had a rehearsal that I had on my, as an MP3, and I put it on my Facebook, and they took that right down. You know, and I understand because he doesn't want some of those things to be put out there like that. So you got to be careful what you put out there. You know, just know that it's a representation of you. If you cussing and putting all kind of crazy stuff out there, you know, you showing butt naked girls in your pictures and stuff, like, people are watching you. You know, you just have to like really represent yourself the way that you feel like you want to be represented.
When you're on like top dollar tours and stuff, how did you like work on budgeting, like, you know, taxes and all that?
Oh yeah. Stay on your taxes. Oh my God. Because you know, you'll get out there and you'll go from tour to tour to tour to tour and forget, oh my God, I got to send my taxes in and you know, account for this money that I'm making. And the IRS will come knocking at your door. They might not even knock at your door. They're going to knock at your account. And that has happened to me before. You know, they put a lien on my account before because I owed them like $10,000 one time, you know, and I got so far ahead of myself that I didn't remember to take care of those tax situations. So they will get it some way or another. You know, I'm good now, but but I learned that the hard way. So stay up on your taxes, save your receipts, give all of that stuff to your accountant at the end of the year. Don't spend all your money. If you go on tour, you get a good gig for the first time, don't go buying a car and all this kind of stuff. Try to get a house. You know, save money to get a crib or something first. You know, I like sneakers. I like stuff like that. Like, I spend money on myself when I can, but I'm not going to be spending money that I know I don't have. You know, I got to take care of my kids. You know, that's my first priority is my children, make sure they got what they need. My daughter is at Howard. If she's watching, hey, Kalia, you know, she's 18. She's at Howard University. Howard is not cheap. You know, so I'm just happy that I do have a situation where I can afford to you know, get her through school and stuff. So you just have to really make sense of the money that you're making. My first tour with Janet, I spent so much money. You know, I was 23 years old making what I was making, and I was having a ball. You know, I was out on the road, I wasn't popping bottles and stuff, but I might as well have been, you know, just buying stupid stuff in Italy and just dumb stuff, you know. And I learned the hard way to not spend money like that on the road. I try a lot of times to just live off my per diem, and the rest of the money goes for everything else. You know, however much money I get for the week, I'll use that money to you know, do what it is that I want to do on my leisure. But I try not to cut into my check as much as I can. The older I get, the more frugal I am. You know, I get cheap. I'll buy things here and there, like I said, you know, because I feel like I deserve it. You know, I work hard, and but I don't go spending crazy, because in the back of my head, I'm like, man, what if I don't have this money next year? I'm thinking about right now and the future, like, I want to save some of this so I can have something when stuff is slow, because that happens. You know, calls might not come in at a certain point. You got to live off the money you made from the last tour or something until you get another situation. So you got to be smart with your money.
That's real. Two things. You said accountant. At what point in your career did you realize you needed a team of people, like a manager, accountant? Do you have a manager? Or?
I have an assistant.
Okay, all right.
I don't trust managers.
I hear you. All right.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's somebody that I've known for a long, long time. Right. A lot of managers out here are really shisty and shady. So you have to be careful with that. I'd say an assistant is a great way to have a manager type situation. If you got somebody that you really trust and that cares about you and can do some of the things for you, like administrative things and all. I have a girl, her name is Denise Russo. She's in Florida. Hey, Denise. And I reach out to her, and she kindly just takes care of things for me without even asking for a dime or anything like that. But I try to give her money, you know, when I can and stuff. But because I don't like people doing things for me for free. I'm just not that kind of person. You do something for me, I got to give you something just as a thank you. But like when I do my shows, when I'm off the road on my own, you know, I don't have anybody booking flights and, you know, taking care of the band, the hotels, all that kind of stuff. So she does those kind of things for me. If I might get calls to do certain shows and things, I send them to her, you know, because sometimes it's just not cool for you to be talking to the promoters or somebody like that. It's good to have a representation for you, to speak for you, and then she comes back to me and says, okay, this is what they have set up, or this is how much money they have as a budget, you know, and I could say yay or nay, and then she'll go back to them, and, you know, so that's those kind of things a manager would do. Okay. So yeah, I just designate certain things that I let her do, because I do a lot of stuff on my own. I'm just used to doing things myself. Okay. And but there's other things where, okay, I need to pull back and let somebody else take care of that.
An accountant? Yeah.
Oh, my accountant, yeah. I've had the same accountant for 15 years now, and he's a family accountant. I met him through my mom. And he does a great job with making sure that all of my stuff is accounted for. Like, I write off everything, you know. Right. I mean, the sneakers, the water, or whatever. Like, this is show water, you know. Like, you can write that stuff off. Yeah, you can write them sneakers off. Those are your show shoes. You know, so you can write you can write those things off. You know, those are entertainment costs for you. Those are things that help you do what you do as a musician. You know.
For contracts, do you have a lawyer or access to?
I do have a lawyer. Okay. Yeah, you asking good questions. So a lawyer, you should definitely have a lawyer to look over things for you. a lot of times it's, you know, they're pretty basic. Everything is pretty standard with a lot of people that I work for, but I still let him look over it. And if it's something funny in there, because sometimes we don't see the little words in between some of the things that,
that's true.
you know, and then when you sign that contract, it's like you can't turn back around, you know, and they're going to be like, no, but you signed this and this is what this says here, doesn't it? And you're like, oh my God, how did I miss that? So things like that, my lawyer makes sure that I don't miss. And he helped me with the administrative stuff for my record as well, with between me and the label,
Okay.
you know, things like that.
Very nice.
Is
You had
that
a
an
question too.
entertainment lawyer in specific?
I'm sorry.
So is that an entertainment lawyer or just?
Yep. My entertainment lawyer's name is Kendall Mentor. He's in Atlanta and he's represented everybody, you know. So he's a great guy outside of a great lawyer too. So I like just having those kind of people around me, you know. Yep.
What's up, man? I had a question about your studio approach. Your first album was incredible. I was, loved it, man.
Thank you, bro.
So if you could talk a little bit about what was your vision sonically when you approached making the album versus what actually the end product was, and then maybe talk about, if you could, what your vision would be for your next album.
Cool, that's a good question. When I started this record, I had no idea what I was gonna do. Truthfully, I just knew I wanted to go in and do something that was gonna showcase what I did best, you know. And I look at myself as a drummer / producer. So a lot of this stuff I produced, and a lot of the band members that I had with me know what kind of sound I'm going for. So we all came together and we talked about things, and I'm like, okay, I want to approach this song like this, or, you know, I want this to be programmed, I want this to be live. You know, the first session that I did, I mentioned that yesterday, I went in just on a whim, like, okay, I'm gonna just go in and see what happens. You know, we're just gonna go in there and vibe first. And it was with Chris Dave, my boy. He played drums with me. We went and set up our drums right next to each other. I got some pictures, there's some online. And we set up drums. Pino Palladino was there, he played bass. A cat named T. Lee from Atlanta, he played keys. And matter of fact, we told T. Lee not to play any chords that day. This was something that I was like, I want to approach this like a Miles Davis Bitches Brew type record, you know, just at least for that one session. So we went in and we said, okay, let's try some of these grooves. We went in, we started playing. When me and Chris Dave play together, it's like we both come up with so many different things. Like it sounds like two percussionists playing along with two drummers, you know. It's like four of us in one room together when you hear the sound. If I let you hear like a breakdown of me and him just playing together, you would hear all the stuff that we were doing around each other. Because when we play together, we're not competing against each other. We're making music together. And that's what I really respect about drummers like him and Stanley and other cats that I work with. But we told T. Lee not to play any chords. We told him to just play sounds. You know, just come in with different textures and stuff and let me, Pino, and Chris form a song around it. And so that's what that first space came from that. And actually we had Melvin Jones who was playing trumpet too. So it was the Miles vibe, but like new age with us playing, you know, on top of that. But that was one experience that I thought about when we went in. And then the other stuff was more like some stuff I had planned. And a lot of the stuff on this record was improvised. Me and Robert Glasper went into the studio right after we went and ate at my favorite place in Atlanta called the Flying Biscuit. He had never been there before. And I took him there and he just freaked out, like, oh my God, this food is so good. You know, he's like, man, let's go in the studio. You know, all right. The studio was right down the street. And we went in and I let him hear some of the songs. And he's like, man, let's do an interlude for this. Let's take it from where you already did It's Your Time on here. And he was like, well, let's just see what we can come up with from there. That track that he played on with me, that was just a one take straight through. And then I went back in afterwards and then added the vocals with Messina and put some little percussion and stuff on top of it. So, you know, I just basically produced on top of what we had already done live.
I don't know if you already had this question earlier, but I just got here, so I wanted to ask, what drummers did you look up to or model your playing after in your career, at the start of your career, as well as for the gigs that you are on?
Good question. My first influence, like major influence, was my uncle, David Roberts. and he was a dope drummer. And I used to watch him all the time and like study his style and pattern my style after his. And as I started growing musically and everything, I started listening to more cats. A lot of us listened to Weckl when we were in church. That was like the first drummer that a lot of us were attracted to outside of playing the gospel music. But even in the gospel realm, you know, I was listening to Joel Smith a lot. I would go see him play anytime the Hawkins family was in town. Jeff Davis, I used to roll around with him. You know, he came to Philly, I let him use my drum set, you know, just stuff like that, just to be around him and take in the knowledge that he had. Gerald Hayward, who's a good friend of mine too. I watch him. I was very, very impressed by his first record with Hezekiah Walker, like stuff like that. Then from that whole gospel world, I wanted to check out the other stuff too. You know, listening to the jazz drummers, Elvin Jones, Tony Williams, listening to Jack DeJohnette, listening to Roy Haynes, you know, which opened a whole nother vocabulary for me as a drummer. You know, not just playing one style of music, but listening to this other stuff too. Then I started listening to Omar Hakim a lot, which, you know, I love his playing till this day. And he turned out to be a good friend of mine as well, Dennis Chambers as well. A lot of influences from cats like that, Manu Katché. You know, like when I heard him play with Peter Gabriel, you know, that floored me. In Your Eyes, you heard that song before? Ooh, you would like that because I see how you play. In Your Eyes, it's called. In Your Eyes, Peter Gabriel. Just the way he played, like it's very, he was playing very African, you know, with his toms and stuff like that. He's from the UK. I think he's from London. I think Manu is from London. But cats like that, I started branching out, listening to a lot of 80s music. So a lot of electronic stuff. Duran Duran, Tears for Fears. You know, I was listening to how the drums sounded on that stuff. What's his name? Tony Thompson. Who else was there? Steve Ferroni. Of course, Steve Gadd. You know, I was listening to each one of these cats to see what I could take from it and make it into my own thing. You know, like Steve had his own approach with the march and snare drum stuff and just his Latin playing. Billy Cobham with the power toms and the speed. You know, like I see cats now, this generation, that remind me of those guys now. You know, like Ron Bruner. He reminds me of the newest, you know, new age Billy Cobham, you know. But like Chris Dave, who's one of my best buddies, I always was influenced by his playing just because he took the gospel thing and moved it over with the jazz playing and made it into a style with Stokely for Mint Condition, which Stokely is an awesome drummer as well, like amazing, you know. So I had so many different influences, and I listened to a lot of different stuff, man. When I was here, she could tell you, I used to be in the library. We used to have a library with videos in it. I don't think y'all have that anymore, right?
They still can check out, yeah.
Oh, they still have? Okay.
Yeah.
But we had VHS tapes back then.
So, they're all DVDs, and, you know, yeah.
Y'all so spoiled now. But yeah, we had VHS tapes, so I would just get a stack of VHS tapes because we had booths. You know, they had the TVs and next to each other, and I would just sit there and just watch stuff for hours, just watching performances, watching Miles live, you know, with Ricky Wellman and you know, and what's his name? Oh God, I'm losing it. Lenny White, you know, people like that. Like, so I was taking all of that information in. And y'all have YouTube and everything now, so you can pretty much find anything you want. You don't even have to go to the library anymore. But we had to we had to go to the shows. If Tony Williams was in town, I went to Scullers to go see him play. You know, Roy Haynes, I used to see him at Riles. We used to sit at the bar and let him talk. He had so much information just sitting next to him, talking to him. So all of that stuff influenced me.
Lil John, you just gave an amazing history lesson to any drummer out there. I didn't see any pen and paper writing all those names down. I'm just saying. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, electronic. It was like Miss Karen recording it all. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, but that reminds me, or I'm curious, how much of the preparation that they're doing now to be, you know, on a path that you are, how much of it should be listening? Yeah, that's getting in the room and getting your skills up on the drums, but how much of what they're doing to prepare themselves should include listening to all those folks you just mentioned.
Yeah, a lot. Listening a lot. I mean, before you even sit behind a kit or instrument, whatever, listen to what they're playing. Like, listen to the tones, listen to, the styles of music that they're playing. I used to listen to Peter Erskine with Weather Report a lot. And, Jocko played drums too. Like, I researched a lot of stuff just to see who did what. Back then, of course, we could go into a CD cover or album cover and see all the credits and see who did what. I was checking out the keyboards and who was playing what keyboards, clavinets and Moogs and OB8s and, Rhodes and organs. And like, I wanted to know, Marcus Miller, like he's playing a bass clarinet on this song. And, outside of just playing drums, I really wanted to know the textures and how they were being done. And seeing it live as well. I just kind of envisioned myself on stage watching those live videos. I kind of envisioned myself being the drummer on those situations. So when I did get into those situations for real, it all just kind of came to me like, oh, that stuff that I was watching, I'm doing it right now, Yeah.
Just one more question. How important is it to share by yourself? I know it's important, share with your friends and all of that, but how important is it to take time alone for yourself, like a practice regimen by yourself? What would you say?
Man, you can hear yourself when you're by yourself. When you're playing with other people, you're hearing what they're doing and you're trying to focus on what you're doing. I mean, both things help because you don't want to just be playing by yourself all the time either, because then when you go playing with other people, you don't know how to connect with them because all you're thinking about is how do I sound, So both things work, and you can take your time when you're by yourself. You can listen to your snare. You can hit your snare and say, is that how I want my snare to sound? And when I'm playing with these other folks, I'm not trying to concentrate on how my snare sounds because I've already figured that out now. I can look up and play and I know that my snare sound is what I want it to be. You had a great sound yesterday. Cymbals, your fills, sounds great. And you play well with the other guys. So definitely.
My generation, we kind of look at like you and Brian as like the innovators of this like Philly sound. Like, of course, every area has a certain sound.
Right.
We kind of look at y'all as like the innovators of that. But just from your opinion, who did you look up to get that sound? And how would you describe the Philly sound?
Man, Philly has a plethora of drummers, but I used to listen to a guy named Garfield Williams. Me and Brian used to listen to Garfield Williams. He used to play at Brian's church, and Brian's church and my church used to fellowship a lot together. So that's how we became cool, just from playing drums together at the church services. But Garfield was a big influence on me in Philly. Because he did so many different things. He played bass too. So I want to play bass, but I never got to it yet. But I still want to play bass. But he was doing plays. We had a play in Philly called Your Arms Are Too Short to Box with God. And I used to go see him. I went to that play. I asked my Mom, can I go to the play? And she would take me to the play just so I could see him in the pit. So I could get an experience of what it's like to play in a pit for a Broadway type show. And he was down there reading. He had his glasses on. I saw him the whole time just looking over here and grooving. And I was just looking over like this because I was like right up on the top tier looking over. And I ain't really see the play. I was watching him like, woo, that's killing. I think BB and CeCe Winans had just came out with their record. What's that one song they had? One of the big records that they had out. Yeah. But BB was one of the guest artists in that play, and he had to play that song, "Change Your Nature" or something. It was one of them songs, and I heard how he played it because I was always listening to that record anyway at home. So when I got a chance to see him play it live, I was like, "Whoa!" Michael Williams. I used to stay around him when he was playing with Commission. I was a Commission groupie. Like seriously, I would show up, I'd ask him if he needed help with his drums, like cats do with me now, I'm like, and I appreciate it and I let them help me if they want to. But I used to help him bring stuff in. You know, I was like, Mike, you need anything, man? I just wanted to hang around him. And he was cool. He had his headband and his wristbands on. Like, I was just like, he's a star to me, you know? And I would just sit back and watch him play, man, just his style and everything. I really studied a lot of Michael Williams' style. And a lot of guys, you know, Brian, a lot of guys, you know, that's in my generation, we all looked up to Michael Williams too. Who else was there? I mean, Milton Brunson singers, Kevin Brunson that was playing back then? That's Milton's son. And I used to watch him play. I mean, anybody that was coming in town that I respected, I was there to check them out. You know, I was sitting right there like you, just watching them. Like, you know, back in the day, we used to hover around the drummer and stuff. And Joel Smith was huge influence as far as, you know, the sound that I was trying to go for, because he was so articulate, but he wasn't chopping hard. But he was, the stuff that he did do just meant so much. And when he did do a chop, it was like, you know, he just freaked everybody out because he waited. You know, he would make you wait before he played a fill. And you would just be mad, like, come on, man, play something. Man. You know, but his control and his discipline was so high, you know, that I respected it greatly. And it had a big effect on me as far as playing is concerned. Like, I'm not going to play for these drummers that's standing around me waiting for me to impress them. I'm playing the music, and when I feel like I want to do something, I'm going to do it. You know, and hopefully they'll be, you know, wowing by it, you know.
Are you, for lack of a better word, are you like impressed or proud of, you know, being an OG like in Philly? Are you proud of like the sound that like Boots, Spank, Trey, Marlon and them is producing for Philly right now?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, because I know where it came from too. You know, Spanky, I used to teach him when he was 12 years old in my basement. You know, and I've seen him progress since then, and like he took stuff that I showed him and just flipped it. Like, you know, now I'm asking him how to do stuff. You know, so it's a full circle thing, man. It's 360. Like we teach and then we get taught. You know, so Trey is a product of Spanky. You know, so it just goes down. It's a legacy, man. Like, I don't have a problem with it at all. I just look at that and say, man, I had a hand in that, and I'm proud of that. You know, even the cats in Chicago, Calvin has influenced, you know, that's my boy, you know, and a lot of these guys in different cities, we all respect each other greatly. You know, we ain't talking bad about each other, nothing. Like, and if any of us start slacking or anything, we can tell each other, you know. I don't mind somebody say, man, you might want to go ahead and practice some of that stuff, John. You know, I'm like, oh, really? Okay, cool, I'll go, you know. But the respect is there, so they can do that. I can do that with them, they can do that with me. The guys in LA, you know, Teddy Campbell, Nissan Stewart. Then you got the guys in New York, Gerald, and all of them. The Connecticut guys, and the younger guys, Skeeter. I mean, it's just so many cats, man. And like when you saw those Shed tapes back in the day when the gospel chops things, I was like, man, this is great, because it was like a sport. You know, you had to be on your game to keep up with those guys, Tony Royster and Ronald Bruner and Thomas Pridgeon, who I met when he was like 12 at the NAMM show, you know, and just hanging out with him. And he was like, you know, a little fade and everything, just hanging around. Like, man, I met his grandmom. She introduced me to him. And just to see them in different phases of their lives, like, you know, and now he's grown up and just a monster player. Like, I'm really proud of a lot of these guys.
Well, I want to dive and get this question in. We're running close to our time. You and I talked yesterday about careers and being your skill sets. Like, what else do you do to make sure you have a steady flow of income year round? The tour ends, and then like, okay, now what? Your bills still coming. Your family still needs financial support. And I know now you have a new website or you're offering lessons on getskilled.co.
Mm-hmm.
So just a little bit to let the students know to cast a wider net. Performing is great, but there's traveling, touring, recording, producing, writing, teaching.
Other avenues of income, definitely. You don't want to just rely on playing drums. And I know you guys can do more than just play drums. Utilize those talents that you have. You know, if you can play enough keyboards. I came up with some of the stuff on my garage band, you know, like just in my hotel room coming up with ideas. And I don't play keyboards like that at all. I mean, I'll be on 3-finger chords like that, but I know melodies and I know how to support them and I know bass lines and parts. And I let my boys, that James Poyser and cats like that, do the other stuff, that can orchestrate everything. But I'll give them an idea like, hey man, this is what I was thinking. I was trying to go with this. And then they send something back to me and I'm like, oh my God, because they understand the vision. But other ways of income outside of just playing your instrument. Try to produce some things. Try to, come up with other ideas. Like there's so many opportunities that you can take advantage of out there. Think about commercials and film scoring. They got film scoring classes here still, right? Terrence Blanchard is here. I mean, you got like one of the main black composers for movies here. Pick his brain. If you see him on the street, Terrence, I just wanted to ask you a quick question. Even if you don't have a class with him, he's cool. He'll answer your question. I talked to him yesterday, and he was like, "Man, I'm kind of worried about these kids here. Just because of the discipline level is so low. Like y'all really got to jump on your A game because there's so many other kids out here that wish they could be here like you. You have so much information here that you can take, and use it to your advantage. So." Find other ways to make a living, and those are things that I'm doing more now outside of just touring. Like I'm thinking of other ways that I can, make income come in.
Oh yes, and getskill.co, is that right?
Yeah, getskill.co. I'm putting out some instructional videos now. Finally, people have been asking me to do that for the longest time. So I'm,
Walter Beasley is very happy that you're finally doing that.
Right? Yeah, he's one of the people that influenced me because Walter had been doing instructional videos for the last few years. Yeah. But I'm just trying to give my information that I can give to help cats. I might not be the best drummer in the world, but I'll at least give you some information that you can take and make it work for you, And I'm just trying to help everybody make some more money, play effectively, get the right gigs, know what to do to get those gigs and what not to do. I'm just trying to spread the information around though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lil John, it's like 2 minutes to 3. I wanted to just say real quickly that thank you first of all to the engineer department that really allowed us to come into this space and make it be, what it was for these 2 sessions, yesterday and today. It was perfect space for what happened yesterday and today. We captured both of the sessions, so we will be reposting them. This may be like a podcast. Some folks on the burn will repost this. It may only be audio, not the video. Yesterday there is a video, so we will be sharing this for folks who missed it. It was a busy week, being finals week, so we understand that. So we tried to capture it so that everyone can take advantage of the amazing things John shared. And also his visit was co-sponsored by the percussion department, the ensemble department, and WalterBeasleyLessons.com. Yeah.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
Thank you, Lil John.
Thank you.
And one more reminder, at 3:30 in the bookstore, come on over, grab a CD. He'll sign it for you. Yeah. Thank you all.
Thanks, y'all.